Here's something that might surprise you. About 9 out of 10 people use a plunger wrong. And I'm not talking about a little bit wrong. I mean completely wrong, starting with the fact that most folks don't even own the right type of plunger for the job they're trying to do. They grab whatever's sitting behind the toilet, jam it into the bowl, and start pumping up and down like they're trying to strike oil. Then they wonder why the water keeps rising. In this video, I'm going to show you the correct way to use a plunger on toilets, sinks, and shower drains, step by step. And stick around to the end because I'll share a simple trick that professional plumbers use to clear stubborn clogs that most homeowners have never heard of. Let's get into it. Knowing how to properly use a plunger is honestly one of the most valuable skills you can have around the house. It can save you hundreds of dollars in emergency plumber calls. And the truth is, once you learn the right technique, it works almost every single time. So before we pick one up, let's make sure you actually understand what you're working with. Here's the biggest mistake I see homeowners make, and I saw it for years on service calls. They use a cup plunger on their toilet. You know the one I'm talking about. It's the classic plunger most people picture in their heads. It's got a wooden handle and a simple rubber cup on the bottom that looks like a half of a rubber ball. Flat bottom edge, nothing fancy. That plunger is designed for flat surfaces like sinks, bathtubs, and shower drains. It creates a seal against a flat surface, and that's how it generates suction. But here's the problem. The bottom of your toilet bowl is not flat. It's curved. It has an opening that leads down into the trapway. So when you press a cup plunger against it, you never get a proper seal. And without a seal, you're just sloshing water around and accomplishing nothing. What you actually need for a toilet is called a flange plunger. It looks similar to a cup plunger, but there's one key difference. It has a soft rubber flap that extends down from inside the cup, almost like a sleeve. That flap is the flange, and it's designed to fold out and fit right down into the drain opening at the bottom of your toilet bowl. That's what gives you the airtight seal you need. So if you only own one plunger and it doesn't have that flange, you need to pick one up. They cost about $8 to $12 at any hardware store, and they are worth every single penny. Ideally, you want to have both. A cup plunger under your kitchen or bathroom sink, and a flange plunger next to every toilet. That alone puts you ahead of most homeowners. Now let's talk about what to do before you ever start plunging, because a little bit of preparation makes a huge difference. First things first, if your toilet is clogged and the water level is high, do not flush it again. I know that sounds obvious, but you'd be amazed how many people think a second flush will push things through. All it does is bring more water into a bowl that has nowhere to drain, and now you've got water on your bathroom floor. If the water is right up near the rim, give it about 10 minutes. In most cases, the water level will slowly drop on its own as it seeps past the clog. That gives you room to work without making a mess. Next, lay down some old towels or a few layers of newspaper around the base of the toilet. Even with good technique, a little water can splash over the edge, and it's a lot easier to toss a towel in the wash than to mop up the floor on your hands and knees. If you're working on a sink, put a bucket underneath the drain area in the cabinet below, just in case. And one more thing. If you have a newer plunger and the rubber is stiff, run it under hot tap water for about 30 seconds before you use it. That softens the rubber and helps it form a much better seal. This is especially helpful in the winter when that rubber can get really firm, sitting in a cold bathroom. All right, now here's the part that most people get wrong, and this is really the heart of the whole video. When you plunge a toilet, the power stroke is not the push. Let me say that again because it goes against everything most people instinctively do. The power stroke is the pull, not the push. Most folks grab that plunger and shove it down as hard as they can, over and over. But that actually compresses the clog tighter and pushes it further into the trapway, where it's even harder to dislodge. What you want to do instead is focus on the pull. Here's the step-by-step. Take your flange plunger and fold that rubber flap out so it's fully extended. Lower it into the bowl at an angle so the cup fills with water, not air. You want water inside that cup because water doesn't compress. Air does. If you trap air in there, you lose most of your force. Now, seat the flange down into the drain opening at the bottom of the bowl. Press it in gently until you feel it form a seal. You should feel a little bit of resistance, almost like a suction cup grabbing onto a window. That's your seal. Now, for the first plunge, push down gently. I mean gently. You're just setting the seal and removing any remaining air. After that initial push, pull back firmly. That's your power stroke. You should feel strong suction pulling back towards you. Then push forward again with moderate pressure and pull back firmly again. Keep that rhythm going. Moderate push, firm pull. Moderate push, firm pull. Do this about 15 to 20 times without breaking the seal. You'll usually hear a gurgling sound, and then the water will suddenly rush down the drain. That's your sign that the clog has cleared. If it doesn't clear on the first round, reseat the plunger and go again. Most toilet clogs will give way within 2 or 3 rounds of this. By the way, if you're finding this advice helpful, you should know it's just a small sample of what I've put into my new guide, the Ultimate Plumbing Playbook. It's packed with step-by-step instructions for hundreds of repairs that can save you thousands. To grab your copy, you can scan the QR code on the screen right now, or just use the first link in the description below. All right, let's continue. Now let's talk about plunging sinks and shower drains, because the technique is a little different. This is where your cup plunger comes in. Remember, flat surface, flat plunger. But before you start plunging a bathroom sink, there's one thing you absolutely have to do first, and almost nobody does it. You need to block the overflow hole. That's the small opening near the top of the sink bowl, usually right below the faucet. If you don't block it, every time you plunge, the air and pressure just escape right out that overflow hole instead of pushing down toward the clog. It completely defeats the purpose. Take a wet rag and stuff it in there firmly. Hold it in place with one hand if you need to, or get someone to hold it for you. For kitchen sinks, if you have a double basin, stuff a wet rag into the drain of the side you're not plunging. Same principle. You need to trap the pressure so it goes toward the clog, not out some other opening. Once you've sealed off any overflow or secondary drain, run about 2 inches of water into the sink. You need water to create suction, just like with the toilet. Place your cup plunger flat over the drain and make sure you've got full contact all the way around the rim. Then use the same technique. Gentle first push to set the seal, followed by firm pulls and moderate pushes. On sinks, it usually only takes about 10 to 15 repetitions. You'll see the water start swirling down the drain when the clog breaks free. For shower drains, pop off the drain cover first, place the cup plunger directly over the opening, and follow the same process. Make sure there's enough water on the shower floor to cover the rim of the plunger cup. Sometimes a clog is stubborn enough that plunging alone needs a little help. Before you reach for harsh chemical drain cleaners, which I almost never recommend because they can damage your pipes over time, try this instead. For a toilet, boil a pot of water and let it cool for about 2 minutes. You don't want boiling water because it can crack porcelain. You want it hot but not boiling. Pour it into the bowl from about waist height so it has some force behind it. Then squirt in a generous amount of regular dish soap, about 2 tablespoons. Let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes. The hot water helps soften and loosen the clog, and the dish soap acts as a lubricant. After it's had time to work, try plunging again. 9 times out of 10, that combination breaks it loose. For sinks, same idea but on a smaller scale. Run the hot water tap for a minute to heat up the pipes. Add a squirt of dish soap right into the drain. Wait 5 minutes, then plunge. Once you think the clog is cleared, you need to test it before you walk away. For a toilet, let the bowl drain completely, then flush once and watch. The water should swirl down quickly, and the bowl should refill to its normal level without rising. If it drains slowly or the water level creeps up, the clog isn't fully cleared. Plunge again using the same technique. For sinks, run the water at full blast for about 30 seconds and watch for any backup. Then fill the basin about halfway, pull the stopper, and let it all drain at once. If it handles that volume without hesitation, you're in good shape. Don't skip this step. I've seen plenty of situations where a clog seemed clear but came right back an hour later because it was only partially dislodged. Let's talk about some common problems you might run into and how to deal with them. First, if you can't get a seal no matter what you do, the most likely cause is that your plunger is too small for the drain opening, or the rubber has hardened with age. A plunger that's more than 3 or 4 years old often loses its flexibility. Replace it. They're inexpensive and a fresh one makes all the difference. Second, if the water level doesn't drop at all after several rounds of plunging, you may be dealing with a clog that's further down the line, past the toilet's built-in trap. At that point, a plunger won't reach it. You'll need a toilet auger, which is a flexible cable tool designed to snake through the trapway and reach clogs 3 to 5 feet down the line. They run about $20 to $30. Third, if you're plunging a sink and the water keeps coming up through the other side of a double basin, your rag isn't sealing the other drain tightly enough. Get a bigger rag, soak it thoroughly, and really pack it in there. Fourth, if you notice water seeping out from the base of your toilet after heavy plunging, that's not a clog problem. That's a wax ring issue, and plunging won't fix it. You'll need to pull the toilet and replace the wax ring, which is a separate project entirely. Fifth, if you're getting clogs frequently, like more than once a month, there's likely a bigger issue at play. It could be a partial blockage further down your main drain line, tree root intrusion, or even a problem with your vent stack on the roof. Recurring clogs are your plumbing trying to tell you something. And that's when I'd recommend calling in a professional for a camera inspection. Now, for that bonus tip I promised at the beginning. This is something I used on jobs for years, and most homeowners have never thought of it. When you're plunging a toilet and you just can't seem to get a solid seal, take a wet rag, a good size one like a washcloth, and wrap it around the bottom of the plunger, right where the rubber meets the handle. Then when you press the plunger into the drain opening, that wet rag fills in any small gaps between the rubber and the porcelain. It creates a much tighter seal, and a tighter seal means dramatically more suction on every single pull stroke. I've cleared clogs in 2 or 3 plunges with this trick that people had been fighting with for half an hour. The key is making sure the rag is soaking wet. A dry rag won't conform to the shape of the bowl. Soak it, wring it out just slightly so it's not dripping everywhere, and wrap it around that base. It works on sinks too. If your cup plunger isn't gripping a sink drain very well, a wet rag around the rim of the cup can make all the difference. Before you go, I want to make sure you know about my complete guide, the Ultimate Plumbing Playbook. It goes way deeper than we can in a single video, with 85 pages covering everything from clearing any clog to replacing your own water heater. If you want to stop wasting money on simple fixes, this book is for you. Just scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description to get your copy. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.